So pretty much everyone in the Trump family is in big trouble. We all know that. But some reporting yesterday indicates that Eric Trump might be in the biggest trouble, or at least in the most immediate trouble. Jennifer Weisselberg, who is the former daughter-in-law of Alan Weisselberg, the CFO of the Trump Organization, and has since become a cooperating witness against the Trump Organization, said yesterday that she has been doing interviews with prosecutors. She's been basically helping them compile evidence, and she says specifically that she has been asked about Eric Trump. Not necessarily anybody else in the Trump family yet, but Eric Trump in particular. It doesn't mean that she's not been asked about other people. It doesn't mean that upon further cooperation, there won't be questions about Donald, Don Jr., Ivanka, anybody else, Jared Kushner, who knows. But the point is, Eric has had questions asked about him in a way we haven't quite seen yet. And this is a big deal because it shows that the investigation is moving on. It shows that some people are maybe in more advanced trouble than others, but it also really confirms for the first time that the look into the Trump Organization really makes this a crime family affair. Right? That's really what we've been talking about, but we've sort of been speculating from the outside. Now we have internal information confirmed by somebody basically participating in the investigation that they are not just talking about Donald Trump Sr. They're not just talking about the former president. They are talking about his kids, who, again, as we've been saying, are all big-time players at the Trump Organization. They're not just Donald Trump's kids. They're basically all executives at this billion-dollar business. And so, when you're just talking about Trump's personal crimes, those are Trump's crimes. Doesn't really involve his kids. If Trump committed personal tax fraud, you're not going to get the kids on that. You're not. You might take away their inheritance and they'll be sad because they don't have daddy's money, but you can't touch them on that. But with the corporation, you can. Because if the corporation was doing crimes, there's a good chance, not a guarantee, but a good chance that the big cheeses at the company, the executives, and that's what the Trump kids are, because everything's based on nepotism in Trump world, they're in trouble. And so Eric is in the biggest trouble right now. I don't know if you're going to see an arrest of him first or an indictment of him first, but it's clear, and I talked about it about a week ago now, that Eric Trump always goes on the media and just seems to be on the verge of tears. And a lot of people just made fun of him for it and moved on. But as I noted on that video about 6, 7, 8 days ago now, he went on Fox just minutes before it was announced that the Trump Organization was being criminally investigated. And that was going to rope in Donald and Don Jr. and Ivanka and, of course, Eric. And so what I thought that Eric was extra unhinged, that he was extra shook up, that he was extra triggered, if you will, because he knew for the first time, likely he just found out himself, maybe a little bit before we did, but not a whole lot before we did, that he is now effectively under criminal investigation. And again, as we noted yesterday, Don Jr., Ivanka, Eric, they may have already made critical mistakes that are too late to fix and could send them to prison. Because as we talked about yesterday, if they made the mistake to think that daddy's lawyers and the corporation's lawyers are looking after them, they effed up. Because fundamentally, they need individual lawyers. And so Eric may be the dumbest Trump. He might even be dumber than his dad and his brother. Eric might be the dumbest. Could have already sold himself down the river. Basically saying everything to the corporate lawyers, saying everything to daddy's lawyers, and lo and behold, he hasn't protected himself. And when it comes to investigations, at least thus far, his name's the only one being said out loud.